Hello, I'm just going to quickly show you where to find the brief because the brief is on StudentNet and I know a number of people have been a bit confused as to where it might live. So we're going to go there and have a very quick look at the brief together. So I've logged onto StudentNet and I'm going to go into HE courses and then I'm going to go down to critical studies. So if I click on the icon there, I have to click again to get into the area, but then you see a range of options. Now, you won't see all of these when you log in, and that's because you're not staff, so all the things in grey are things that you won't be able to see. But if you go down, first thing you'll notice it's really appropriate for you is critical texts. So we'll have another short screencast about where you find particular texts, but if you go down to assignments and click on assignments, and then you'll see these PDF files, all the assignments that are currently live within critical studies. So I'm going to go to, so you'll need to find your particular studio area. I'm going to go to textiles as my example, and I'm going to click on this, and then in a few minutes time we've got the brief coming up. So it tells you when the deadline is, module code, and the assignment weighting. Now I've got general information about the Practice in Context programme to start with, and then the aims of the programme, so what it's trying to do. And the aims of the programme are very much tied into the assessment requirements, so research, argument, theory and practice, and communication. So we'll be actually assessing you on these areas as well. Scroll a bit further down and then you've got your intended learning outcomes. So there we go, you process information, including theory, from research sources appropriate to this level of study. So we're looking at sort of textbooks here, we're looking at academic reading, we're looking at the reading list, and I'll come to that in a moment. Produce a detached, informed, coherent, advanced critical analysis of creative practice in context. So you'll be looking at a piece of work or body of work for this, and you'll be asked to produce a sensible academic argument which looks at how the body of work, the meanings in the body of this work might change within different contexts and how that might be so. To demonstrate an informed perceptive understanding of the relationship between theory and practice. And this is all to do with the ideas, the frameworks of ideas that we're teaching you in PIC, and the ideas that the key texts are putting forward as well. So that's some of the ideas that we'll be teaching this semester. We'll ask that those are kind of involved within your critical argument, perhaps become a perspective through which you look at your art object. And we'll ask you to communicate this complex argument clearly and accurately using appropriate academic conventions. And that's communication. And if you have any worries about that, please don't forget about our excellent Study Plus drop-in service, which will be able to help you with problems regarding how you might structure the argument, how you might evidence your research. So for this, you're asked, this is textiles, and they're asked to produce an illustrated 2,500 to 3,500 word essay on the meaning of a piece of textile design or a body of work that includes textile design elements. And these briefs are very broad, and you'll find that photographers are asked to write an essay on the meaning of a piece of a sort of work of photography or a body of work, but body of photographs. So each particular essay title will be phrased slightly differently depending on your curriculum area, but the meaning behind them is the same. You're asked to sort of choose kind of a piece of work from your area of studio practice or a body of work from your area of studio practice and produce an illustrated, so we do want pictures, example of how one might unpick or analyse the meanings in that piece of work. So with reference to theoretical frameworks discussed in PIC classes, the essential reading and other research sources. And other research sources could be anything from kind of a nice library book about the artist or the artwork to a Google Scholar article to a journal article. So do go to the library and speak to the library about Athens. Do start looking on sources like Google Scholar to see what information you can find when you've decided on the body of work or the piece of work you're going to look at. So do read as many of the essential texts as you can and other texts if possible. And in reality, you will have to read other texts too because you want to find background information on your particular subject. quote from your sources and engage with the quoted material. So don't just leave it there as something somebody else has said. Look at why that quote might be relevant to your analysis of that particular piece of work. So you've got some information there underneath about what happens if your essays are too short or too long, so you must read through those. Really, just keep within the word count. And here we've got the essential reading, so this is really important. When I showed you around the website in the other podcast, I just said, look at this sort of overview, and that will start you on little bits of that key reading. So if you're worried about reading academic texts, start with 3 pages on an area that you know you've covered in class, and then build up from there. It is important that you read some of these key texts. It really is important. So you start small, start with what you think you can manage, and then start to read out from that. And then you'll build, for people who were there for the presentation on academic reading, you'll build kind of frameworks of knowledge in your head, and you'll be able to come to grips with the ideas presented in these kind of key texts. So you've got the reference there for the key text and some recommended further reading. And again, these will vary from course area to course area. So if you're not in textiles, you may well not be asked to do these key readings. So please look at your particular brief for details of that. Then the brief goes down to talk about how you submit your essay and late submission penalties and the actual assessment criteria here. So I hope this has been helpful, and good luck with understanding your brief and starting your assignments. Thank you.